Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif by reciting our loudest of salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We're thankful to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His bounty and blessing to be able to get together. Alhamdulillah, under the beautiful banner with the name of the Ahlul Bayt, specifically speaking, the name of Sayyid al-Shahada alayhi salatu wassalam, in the month of Muharram, a couple of days before the day of Ashura. So we started having a little discussion on what it takes, number one, to gain utmost amount of bounties from the Majalis of Imam Hussein, and how can we take that and convert it in one form, in a form of companionship. A companionship not just with each other, but a companionship with Sayyid al-Shahada alayhi salatu wassalam. The companionship in which we refer to as the prosperous companionship. It's not any typical companionship that I would say, okay, we'll be a circle of my friends. It's not any form of a companionship that I can find it like, online, on social media, on social network, or it can be given for ease. No. It's a type of companionship that we have to make sure it goes according to the condition. Yes, in a sense, it's a lot easier. In a sense, we don't have to do a lot of work, but with the condition that we hold on to this sense of companionship. As a famous hadith that we constantly remind ourselves about Allah Abdullah Hussein, in that Hussein, Safinatun, Najah, wa Misbahun. Indeed, Imam Hussein is the ark of salvation. The ark of salvation is translated in different form. What does it mean? Why didn't they say the whistle? Why did they say the vehicle? It means, but actually they use the term of Safina. Safina comes from various aspects, meaning that there are so many ways that people can connect to the heart of Imam Hussein. As if like Imam Hussein becomes that universal means for every single person who has that sincere request from within their heart. If a person is sincere in what they seek in terms of prosperity, in terms of felicity, in terms of the guidance, Allah Abdullah Hussein is there to hold their hand. So it comes with a condition. That condition, as long as we maintain it, we try to hold on to this ark of salvation. We have to buy a ticket to get on an ark, right? As we buy the ticket, inshallah, as we get all on the ark, we have to make sure we remain in the ark. Not just to say, okay, because I get that passage, I have the hubb of Imam Hussein, I have the love and affection of Allah Abdullah Hussein, that will be good enough for me, and I am guaranteed. Because a lot of times we may fool ourselves. And why do I say we may fool ourselves? When we talk about the fadail, when we talk about the virtues, when we talk about the benefits, when we talk about the one-of-a-kind benefits of attending the majalis of Imam Hussein, or we talk about the benefits of going to the ziyarat of the Ahlul Bayt, or like we talk about the benefits of following the school of the thought of the Ahlul Bayt. A lot of times we understand that we are within the vessel, we are within the ark, and we forget about the fact that we have to maintain this sense of privilege. I have to maintain, I have to update my membership if you want to refer to it. It's not like just because I am born in such and such place of the world, because I have practiced such and such religion, because I have come to the majlis of Imam Hussein for X amount of years, it will be guaranteed that blessed ending. Remember the topic? The religious resume doesn't matter. The educational resume doesn't matter. Even so, the deeds that we have done would not be. And why? Again, every single one of these examples can be found on the day of Ashura. The people who have very brightful, if you want to say, from a faith-based perspective, a very brightful background, a very brightful past, to the point that other people will look up to them. Other people will look up to them as role models. But the very same people, they flipped. Now, some of them with education, some of them with high education, some of them with high amount of resumes in terms of how much they have done for the sake of Islam, for the sake of Nabi Rasulullah, for the sake of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You just take, for example, someone such as Zubayr. Zubayr has a title. What's his title? Saif al-Islam. the sword of Islam. Who had given this title to Zubayr? Nabi Rasulullah, right? Any of us have gained a title from Nabi Rasulullah? Not yet, yes? Imagine how much Zubayr has put into for the efforts of Islam and religion of Islam on the side, alongside of Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the battles alongside of Nabi Rasulullah, that Nabi Rasulullah gives him this title, right? That he's the sword of Islam. How many different times he has gone to the battle, how many different rooms, how many different bravery he has seen from them. So when you look at his resume, it's like, mashallah, 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 mashallah. All the way, how many pages? Allahu Akbar. The very same guy comes to the point that from one simple test, we call it simple, but if you're at his position, it's actually difficult, right? A situation in which Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the battle of Jamal, is looking among the dead people. As he's looking among the dead people, he finds the body of the very same Zubayr. What does he do? He picks up his sword. The Ashab say, like, Amir al-Mu'mineen, what's so unique about his sword? Amir al-Mu'mineen is looking at the sword of the Zubayr. What does he say? He said, I wonder of the very same sword that Nabi Rasulullah gives the title to be the sword of Islam. Now it has gone against the very same Islam that was fighting. So these are not just taking for lightly. It's like, oh, okay, he didn't recognize Amir al-Mu'mineen. No, he knew Amir al-Mu'mineen very well. He's actually one of the ones who was in the house of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra when those guys approached and they, went in and they broke inside. So he's one of the guys who was inside. He's actually one of the ones who stands up for the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Right? Think about it. At the time of Saqifa, he's one of the ones who stands up to defend the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen. After about how many years, he becomes one of the fighters against Amir al-Mu'mineen. So what changes? And again, these are as we say, these are the champions. They're not like me and you, study a little bit, couple of years here and there, and then just, make it for 10 days and 30 days. No. These are the guys who actually were the live version of the history of Islam. They were with Nabi Rasulullah, day in, day out, day out. They were with Amir al-Mu'mineen, day in and day out. These are the ones who actually narrate a lot of fazail, a lot of virtues about Amir al-Mu'mineen. So what changes? What changed in the heart makes them to fall for the wrong side? It's not a lack of information. It's not like they don't know about Amir al-Mu'mineen. Same story at the time of Imam Ehsan inshallah. Very same story at the time of Abu Abdullah Hussein. In a sense, we can actually conclude that the tragedy of Ashura has been repeating during every Imam, but in a different format. Right? In a different format. Actually, some of the scholars, they have this discussion, very interesting discussion, to focus on Battle of Jamal. They say if you focus on the Battle of Jamal, if you do the analysis of what's taking place in the Battle of Jamal, we can conclude that if the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen was not to the extent of the number that they had, the very same tragedy of Ashura would have happened at the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The only advantage that Amir al-Mu'mineen had at that time, he had a good number of followers. From what aspect? Because of all of the eulogies and all of the phrases, statements, the slogans that the people on the side of Jamal were making towards Amir al-Mu'mineen, towards Ahlul Bayt, towards the family of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and all of the bullies, as we want to say, that they were using against Amir al-Mu'mineen on the Battle of Jamal. So what has taken place? After about 25 years of being silent, being put to the side, right? Now when people, the majority, not majority, in fact actually you can say the one event that almost literally speaking, all of the Muslims, they went and they asked for someone to become their Khalif, is at the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It was not the same case at the time of the previous one, right? But at the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen, as Imam describes it, people were coming so much and so many in form of groups and groups and groups that I got afraid of my Imam Ehsan and Imam Hussein losing their life because of too much crowd being inside of the house. Constantly coming up and doing their bay'ah, constantly coming up and doing their promise, constantly coming up and asking Imam al-Mu'mineen to become their Khalif. So even if you go by the rule of majority, right, he actually becomes the perfect example of being selected as the vote of the majority. Now immediately after his selection, Doesn't take long, the Battle of Jamal happens within the first year. What has taken place? And the Battle of Jamal is not coming from far distance. Where is it initiating from? The very same people who were living in the city of Kufa. Tell hands over, they were living in the city of Kufa, right? So what was the difference? That when Imam takes over the topic of rulership, immediately the very same close companions, the elites, the champions, they go against them. Not only they go against them in terms of the wars, but they literally are like, they're ready to take a stand, physical, like, stand against the Imam of their time. So it's not the biography of Amir al-Mu'minin. They know his biography better than none because they lived it, right? It's not a matter of knowing of his resume. What is it that's missing? One aspect is that ma'rifah. And to some extent, you can actually argue this one that even the ma'rifah was there to some extent. Because, for example, someone such as Zubayr, he was constantly in a doubt. And towards the end, he finally gives in to the doubt and he tries to leave, but as he leaves, obviously people chase him and he gets killed as he's about to flee the scene of the battle. Right? So to some extent, even the ma'rifah of the Imam is there. So what is it that is initiating this sense of, objection, but not objections only in the matter of words, but objections in the matter of taking action, in the form of taking actions to kill. Sometimes I may assume that something belongs to me, right? I've been oppressed, so I talk about it. I'll be vocal about it. I try to use the legal path for it. But sometimes I try to take the matters into my own hand. What all of a sudden changed? What all of a sudden flipped all of these guys? They took everything into their hands to form an entire army to capture the city of Basra and then go and approach Amir al-Mu'minin. Very same concept at the time of Imam Ehsan. Right? One of the reasons that Imam had to get forced to sign that peace treaty was the very same fact. If Imam would have continued for one slide of the second, right? One slide of the second, the Islam that we have today will be gone for good. Right? Because the foundation of Islam was at risk. So Imam, in the sense, Imam Hassan Mustafa sacrificed his life for the sake of those few individuals to continue the pathway of maintaining what we refer to as the foundation, fundamental of the Islam that we know. A lot of times when we look at it from this aspect, you'll be surprised when we talk about Imam Hassan Mustafa being Mazloom. You'll be surprised how what Imam has done, and a lot of times even the Shia, they don't know about it. Story continues, comes to the time of Imam Hussein. Now a little bit of that foundation has grown up from one aspect. From another aspect, you have another thread. This other thread, what is the other thread? It is aiming directly towards the foundation. Right? It is aiming towards the roots of Islam. It is aiming towards, literally speaking, uprooting Islam from the roots in a way that nothing will be left. Which is why Imam Hussein makes it clear, sound and clear. Mithli la yubayi'u mithla. Those like me, and people like me, like Abu Abdullah Hussein, will never give their bay'ah, will never give their allegiance to who? People such as Yazid. In a sense, Imam is making that a specific criterion for me and you. Whatever I find in Yazid, if I find it in a lower like the mountain myself, I have to think twice. I have to look for a remedy. I have to look for a solution. Vice versa, if I see the qualities in which Imam Hussein promotes, the quality in which the Ashab, the companions of Imam Hussein promotes, right? If I find it even for the slightest amount within myself, what am I supposed to do about those? Just say Alhamdulillah? Or no, try to increase them. Try to work on them. Try to let them flourish. Try to let them grow a little bit, right? Because remember, the quality, right, as we age, the quality, if you don't work on it, it tends to go away. To give an example, they say the quality of generosity. When do we say a person is generous? Is it if they do only one time of, let's say, donation? Do we call that person generous? Or no, this generosity has to happen in different actions, in different times, and on an instant. Sometimes we say ask for donation, and you have to think twice, 3 times, 4 times. Let me do all of the calculation, let me do all of the, all of my tax return, make sure everything is well and done, and if there's anything left at the end, outstripping the dying for the sake of it, right? And that's not generosity. So if the generosity is supposed to be applied to a person, it has to happen in a consecutive ways, and it has to happen by default, as they say, right? It's not like I think about it, I do like a measurement, and I like give away. No, automatically when I see the case that is need, I will give away. Then they're going to say, okay, this person has the personality of being a generous person. Anything below this one is what? Someone who has a percentage of generosity, right? Perhaps every so often it becomes active, it turns on, I may be generous, and then sometimes it will be actually off. We will not possibly think of being generous, right? So this whole topic of like being that, or having that companionship with Imam Hussein, it reflects on this aspect. That whatever I learned from this movement of Imam Hussein, from the movement of the companions, from the personalities of the companions, I have to make sure I revive it within myself. Not just to hear and then pass by and say, Alhamdulillah. Not just to hear and even mourn for the Masad and then move on. No. Take that quality, try to revive it within myself. So that's a whole story that again keeps on happening and happening and happening. Right? In our time, even when you go back all the way to the time of Nabi Adam. Yes? Sometimes we say there are so many facts and you cannot do analysis. Like, okay, let's simplify it. Let's go back all the way to the time of Nabi Adam. At the time of Nabi Adam, were there all of this population of people? No, right? It was Nabi Adam, Hazrat Hawa, and who else? Habil and Habil. Imagine two brothers, the entire world to have for themselves, right? Would there be like problem with a matter of territory, a matter of land, a matter of like, okay, I want this, you cannot have the same one? It's the entire world. But what happens? One kills the other, right? One kills the other. Two people, two brothers, two siblings. The entire world at their ease. Yet again, one kills the other. See this clash of, as we say, the different qualities of personality. By default, it reaches that position that you either have to choose to be on the right path, or we will end up on the wrong path. If we don't work on ourselves, we will be worked on. If I don't have plan for my life will be planned for me. Ask the ones who have become a professional in their life, right? Usually the ones who become very successful, the very one common thing that they usually say about how they became successful is the topic of having that plan, 1, 2, having that focus on their purpose. If I'm just going about my life without having any sort of planning, any sort of purpose, any sort of meanings, any sort of, okay, where am I, what stage am I in, and where am I going towards? As the days go by, like how many days we are actually at the masjid of Imam Hussein, has this had any impact on me? Beside the fazal, beside the sawab, beside the rewards, and beside all of the goodies, right? Has it been able to change me as a person? Has it been able to provide any sense of a new perspective towards life for me? Has it been able to give me that, perhaps higher level of understanding and ma'rifah towards my amount of time? Or no? If it's no, then I have to go back and I have to review the steps that I have taken. Why so? It's not a matter of even the content. Sometimes we can argue maybe the content is not at a high level. Maybe I'm like post-doctorate and the content that I need has to be way up, high up. So it's okay. But it's not only about the content. What else is there? Remember, Imam Hussein referred to him as the arc of salvation. What does arc of salvation mean? Do I have to go and study X amount of years and read X amount of books to be able to understand about the arc? Well, no, as long as I'm within the arc, I'm getting the benefit from the arc. Very simple layman term examples, right? Let's say I want to travel. One of the ways of traveling is by what? By airplane. So can I argue, says, okay, not unless if I understand how every little single thing within airplane works, I will not place my foot in the airplane. What would happen? The airplanes will come and go and come and go and come and go. Where would I be in? Very same position that I'm right now. Yes? But what do? I get the benefits of the airplane despite of not knowing about how does it function. Same thing with same thing with the Quran, same thing with Imambargah. I may not know so many things about Imambargah, but I have to make sure I maintain being on that ark of salvation. So maintaining being on the ark of salvation, how would it translate within my personal life? If I want to maintain within the ark of salvation, how would that translate within my personal life? How would that translate within my family life? How would that translate within my social life? How would that translate within my community life? How would that translate within the life of my profession, with my job, with my future, with my sustenance, with my house, with my car, with my family, with my relatives, with my siblings, with all of my in-laws and relatives, right? How would that translate itself? That's the question. And that's the answer that we all should have and actually must have an answer for, right? Inshallah. So as we talk about this very same topic of what took place between people such as Talha and Zubayr, to be able to fall down for the wrong side, and similarly speaking to the 30,000+ people to fall down on the wrong side on the day of Ashura, one of the reasons that causes this flip at the time of the test is what they call it, making ourselves busy with the terminology of malahi. What's malahi? Basically, in a layman term, again, translation, is the matters that has absolutely no benefit, right? Sometimes they refer to it as games, distractions, right? Amusements, right? So we have to go back and review our life. The activities that we do. This morning, for example, you can just take one day from the time, inshallah, that we woke up, inshallah, for the Salatul Fajr, right? Inshallah, till now that we're sitting at the Masjid of Imambargah. We can list everything that we have done. It doesn't take an AI, we can do it even faster than an AI. What percentage of those activities were actually had a benefit, had a purpose? What percentage was just an activity? What percentage was just to make sure the time passes by? Right? What percentage of those were, may God forbid, they may be actually simple actions? Right? So one of the reasons that majority of the people at the time of the test, they fall for the wrong side is what? They busy themselves on the normal daily activities and stuff that doesn't matter. What does that imply? They don't have that clear purpose. That okay, I've been given a limited time for a reason. If I don't have plan for this limited time that I've been given, what's the guarantee that I'm going to gain what I'm truly capable of? Right? So I make myself busy with random stuff. A lot of stuff I actually distract myself. A very good example is imagine if you have a very important test tomorrow and you're doing the last minute studies, right? And all of a sudden, in the middle of studying, let's say if you're studying on your computer, on your tablet, on your cell phone, right? As you're studying, you keep on looking at other tabs. You have a test tomorrow, you keep on checking your messages on WhatsApp. You have a test tomorrow, you keep on checking different posts on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You have a test tomorrow, you keep on putting on comments. So the purpose is to focus on the test, to study for the test. What am I doing? I keep on distracting myself with random stuff, and I usually justify it. Oh, if I don't answer this one right now, it's going to get bad. If I don't read this post, I will not be able to do likings. If I don't read this one, I'm going to be behind. But in reality, what's happening? Right? Again, remember, the ones who become successful, they have a goal, they focus, they concentrate on that goal. So if me and you, we want to become part of the ones who were able to successfully pass the test at the time of the month. Me and you, we have to have that goal in mind. What is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to do, and what is it that He wants us to do, not for the sake of Him, but for the sake of ourselves. Allah has created us with the capacity, the capabilities, in which He refers to as ashraful makhluqat, which means the highest form of His creation. The highest form of His creation. Inna khalaqnahu fi ahsani taqweem. Surah Deen. Indeed, we have created the humanity in what? In the best form. Right? Ahsani taqweem. Which means the capabilities that we have is higher than everything else possible within the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means we're all mashallah better than everything else? Absolutely no. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. So when it comes to being capable, we're way up. But what is the actuality? What's the reality? أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ, right? We've been sent down to the lowest of the realms. Why? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Except for those who have faith and they do good deeds, right? They believe in the hereafter and they back it up with the good deeds. Is it one time? Is it 110 days? Is it 130 days of the month of Ramadan? Is it the full year? Or no, is it the full life? Or is it in the stage of having that constant concern on the rise? That okay, Alhamdulillah, Allah has given me all of these bounties, all of these blessings, but how can I put that into action? How can I make all of those potentials to an actuality? It's not just by talking about it, it's by actually putting the effort to it. Right? The very same topic of generosity. We can talk about it so many times in different aspects, in terms of the hadith, narrations, in terms of the ayats of the Quran, in terms of theology, in terms of philosophy, in terms of irfan. But it doesn't matter like how much we talk about it. None of this, if I have that quality within me, none of these talks is going to have any benefit for me. Right? As they say, by just constantly saying sweet, 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 our mouth is not going to become sweet, right? I actually have to go and put the effort in. So when it comes to understanding from the both sides the tragedy of Ashura, right? When it comes to understanding from the qualities of the Ashab of Hazrat Sayyid al-Shuhada, what are the specific ones that I can pick? As we get closer and closer and closer to the day of Ashura, today, the most commonly narrated, when they talk about Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. Now, to talk about Hazrat Abbas by itself is very difficult. Why? It's not the position that he has only with Imam Hussein, but you look at the background story. You look at his personality. You look at his qualities. You look at his characteristics. You look at his background story even leading to the day of Ashura, right? You look at his karamat. You look at his titles, right? You look at his ziyarah, right? You look at his shrine. You look at the position of his shrine. You look at the story of his life. Every single one of those has a lesson for us. It's Hazrat Abbas. He's the flag bearer of Imam Hussein. He's not only a brother to Imam Hussein, he's the last supporter, the last soldier, the last commander, the last part of Imam Hussein's army. But his title is what? Bab al-Hawa'ij, which means the gateway or the doorway of request or answering the request. He's been famous for this title since when? Since the time of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. When? Right after the peace treaty, as the people go back to the city of Medina, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba constantly is providing for so many of the families. But through whom? Through the hands of Hazrat Abbas. So he's the one who's constantly attending the affairs of the families of Muslimin and Muslimat in the city of Medina. To the point that people know him as Bab al-Hawaj. Whatever they wanted, they would go and ask Hazrat Abbas. It becomes a popular title for him. And this continues even on the tragedy of Ashura. Part of the masab we hear that the kids were always looking up to Hazrat Abbas is because of this title. They were so used to him. Of whatever they wanted, they would go to Uncle Abbas and they would ask him for that. Now this title has so much story, so many miraculous works that has been happening through this title of Hazrat Abbas. One of them is famously known as one of the scholars who was like sitting at the lessons of Sahib Jawahir. He's like one of the older scholars, like very pious, and he narrates the story. He says, on one night before the Friday, on one Shab al-Jum'ah, I was going for the ziyarat of Imam Hussein, and as I entered the land of Karbala, right, I went to the haram of Imam Hussein, and I was doing like the ibadah. A little bit like as I get closer and closer to the Fajr time, I fell asleep because I was awake the all night and like I had the long journey. I fell asleep. I took a nap for maybe a couple minutes. In his nap, he sees the whole shrine of Imam Hussein, and he sees that the entire sky above the golden dome of Abu Abdullah Hussein is filled with angels, as if they have lined up and they're coming down one by one in order to do their ziyarat and go back up to the sky. Then he looks closer, he sees Nabi Rasulullah, he sees Amir al-Mu'mineen, he sees Sayyid Fatima al-Zahra. All of them are sitting within the shrine of Imam al-Hussein. All of a sudden he sees Jibreel coming into the shrine of Imam al-Hussein. He comes up, he goes to Nabi Rasulullah, he whispers something. The scholar hears the whisper. He's asking for a cure. Jibreel asking for a cure on behalf of this guy, his name is Haji something. He's saying like the Haji something has asked Hazrat Abbas, the Bab al-Hawa'ij, to cure his son. What's the story? The scholar doesn't know, he's not even from the town. So he narrates it later on as he meets the family afterwards. He says there was this Haji, the brother Haji, who was living in the land of Karbala. He had his son, and his son at the prime of his age, he finds or gets a sickness. The sickness continues to grow and grow and grow, becomes more severe, more severe, more severe, to the point that they face him the Qibla. They lay the body, their feet towards the Qibla, and as it becomes even more severe, now they're saying the words of Inna Lillah, so they tie up his foot and hands so he will rest a little bit. They even close their eyes. As they close their eyes, both the mother and father, they become mustab. The father gets out from the room, he goes outside of the house and he's trying to mourn for the loss of his son. And the mother, who's from the Sadat, she gets up, she goes directly to the haram, to the shrine of Hazrat Abbas. And at that time, it was in a way that the shrine of Hazrat Abbas, they would close the doors after a specific time. So at that time, middle of the night, they would not allow anybody inside. She goes, she knocks, the guard comes in, who is this? It's me. It's the haram is closed. It's no, I have to go. I'm from the same descendants of Nabi Rasulullah, just grant me permission to go. I just have to be inside of the haram. You can lock the door behind me. I will not come back, I'll come back out of the haram till the morning. They say no, she insists, they say no, she insists, until finally, they open the door for her. She goes inside. They lock the door. What does she do inside? I'm not sure. The scholar says, as I was sitting there in the haram of Imam Hussein, not knowing about all of this guy, what's happening, I see Jibreel walking in. He goes up to Nabi Rasulullah and he whispers in the form of a request. Hajj such and such is asking Bab al-Hawa'ij to provide and cure his son. Nabi Rasulullah raises his hand towards the sky. He starts doing dua. He says, oh Allah, grant the son of Hajj such and such ash-shifa. Give him the cure. A couple of seconds passes by. Nabi Rasulullah looks at Jibreel. He says, it is a determined fact that his son is gone. He will be honored. It's time for him to leave the world. There is nothing else we can do. Jibreel leaves the shrine of Imam Hussein. He goes out. After a couple of seconds, couple of minutes later, again he comes back in. Goes to Nabi Rasulullah. Says, oh Nabi Rasulullah, this Hajj is asking Bab al-Hawa'ij on the right of Bab al-Hawa'ij to provide shifa for his son. Nabi Rasulullah again raises his hands towards the sky. Oh Allah, grant the shifa to the son of this Haji. A couple of seconds later, again Nabi Rasulullah looks at Jibreel. He says, no. His death is written, is approved, is confirmed. Nothing else we can do. Nothing else we can change. Jibreel goes out. This time the scholar said, all of a sudden I felt this change of momentum. In what? In all of the angels who were coming to do their ziyarah. As if everybody is now, it's up and down and up and down, and they're trying to run around as if something more important is about to happen. I look towards the gate and I see Hazrat Abbas walking inside to the shrine of Imam Hussein. He walks there, he comes closer and closer in a respectful manner. He looks at Nabi Rasulullah, says, Nabi Rasulullah, Allah has given me the title of Bab al-Hawa'ij. If this title of Bab al-Hawa'ij is no use, would you pray and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the title of Bab al-Hawa'ij from him? Nabi Rasulullah bursts out to tears. He raises his hand and he says, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, pray with me. Amir al-Mu'mineen raises his hand. They both pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that for the sake of the title of Bab al-Hawa'ij of Hazrat Abbas, provide shafa to the son of that Haji. Immediately after that one, Nabi Rasulullah looks at Hazrat Abbas and says, oh my Abbas Jan, Allah sends his salam, Allah sends his greeting and says, oh Abbas, We have given you this title of Bab al-Hawaiij for a reason. And for the very same reason, we will never remove that title from you. We have given you, and you have answered the request that you have. The son will be healed. Here's your answer. So all of a sudden, as this happens, the scholar comes back to his sense. He wakes up from his dream, his nap. Where is he at? At the shrine of Imam Hussein. He gets up and he doesn't know what's happening, but he knows the dream is a form of a true dream. So when he comes out to do like to refresh his wudu, as he comes outside, he happened to pass from the front side of the house of the very same Haji that he had seen in his dream. He sees the father that is constantly hitting himself on the chest and saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and is crying and weeping and asking people for help, and nobody's helping him. The scholar doesn't know his name. He's not from the town. He goes up to him and says, what are you crying? What are you mourning for? He's like, my son, I have lost my son, my dear son. He holds onto his hand and says, don't worry, your son is okay. It's like, no, we tied up his feet together, we tied up his hand, he even closed his eyes, he's facing the Qibla, he's done, he's gone. We have to start with the ghusl and kafan. He's like, no, trust me, I will tell you, let's go inside. He takes the hand of the father. They go inside to the room in which they had laid down the body of his son. As they open the door, they see his son sitting there, facing the Qibla, crying and asking for some food. The father looks at him. He doesn't know what to say. Where is your mother? What is your mother doing? She has gone to the shrine of Bab al-Hawaiij. She has gone to the shrine of Bab al-Hawaiij. That's just one aspect of Hazrat Abbas. Now imagine, on the day of Ashura, the man who is known for his courage. What courage? You go back all the way to the Battle of Siffin. It's the first time that the courage of Hazrat Abbas gets revealed to the public. In what sense? He goes and participates in a battle, but he wears a mask. He doesn't want to become recognized. He wears a mask, and he's a very young man, the age that they have reported for him. So as he's fighting, he asks for someone to do a one-on-one battle. So Muawiyah tells one of his great champs of his side to go after him. Abbas says, me? They usually send me when there's thousands of people. I'm just trying to brag about his skills. I said, no, go for it. I don't think you will be able to. He said, no, me, I'll send my youngest son. How many sons he has? He has 7 sons. I will send the youngest one that I have. The youngest one will take care of him. And he says, okay, if you wish. He sends his youngest one. He comes, and Hazrat Abbas one strike, kills him. He kind of gets angry with the father. He sends his second son. The second one comes, Hazrat Abbas kills him. The third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one. All of the 7 sons come, Hazrat Abbas kills. He gets so angry, he gets on his horse, he starts charging against Hazrat Abbas. Hazrat Abbas one strike. Sends him to hell. At that time, the Muslimin, they start doing the takbir. They say, Allahu Akbar, who is this young man? Amir al-Mu'min comes up, removes the mask and starts wiping out the dust from the face of Hazrat Abbas. First time that the courage of Hazrat Abbas gets revealed to the public. But for such a man, when you think about it, how much courage he has that on the night before Ashura, the only one who is about to get the safe passage, that Aman Nama, is who? Hazrat Abbas. Because enemy knows. They know as long as Hazrat Abbas is within the army of Imam Hussein, their probability of winning the war is unlikely. So they try every different ways to be able to remove Hazrat Abbas from the army of Imam Hussein. And that's why Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura says, if you go, my army will be no army. It's not only bearing the flag of Imam Hussein. They say after the tragedy of Ashura, as they were stolen a lot of items from the Ahlul Bayt, and as they were turning those to Yazid in the city of Sham, one of the items they returned, or one of the items they gave and passed on to the Yazid, was the spear of Hazrat Abbas. That Mal'un, when he sees the spear of Hazrat Abbas, he asks the very same question. Who was the owner of the spear? They say, why? He says, the way I see the spear, I see it entirely, the entire handle of the spear being marked with different marks of the sword, or like stripes, or like bits and pieces here and there, except one position. And what is that position? The position that he was holding. All of it has been wounded, right? It's been broken into perhaps like different scratches and here and there because he keeps on blocking, but the place he was holding it, untouched. That told me something. He never let go of this fear, despite of how severe the battle became. This is from the enemy. So look at the courage. Look at the fear that he will create if you just go to the battlefield. And look at his ilm, look at his ma'rifah. Ma'rifah to what extent? Not only he does not request anything from Imam al-Hussein, but constantly finding himself at the respect of Abu Abdullah, not even calling Imam al-Hussein as his own brother. Not even using the title of brother to Abu Abdullah. Why? Because he's not one of the sons of Sayyidah Fatima az-Zahra. As he's born on Mundane, they bring the Mandala of Hazrat Abbas to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at Hazrat Abbas. Then all of a sudden he starts removing the hands from the Mandala and he starts kissing the hands of Hazrat Abbas while crying for her. Hazrat al-Mu'mineen. A newborn. What is it wrong with my baby? What is it wrong with my child? Is there something wrong with the hands? Is there something wrong with the arm? And he says, no, I'm kissing the hands of a man who will be giving up his hands, the right hand, the left hand, on the path of defending my son Hussein. This is Hazrat Abbas. On the day of Ashura, he has tolerated seeing all of the Masai. He has seen the Ashab gone. He has seen Hazrat Ali Akbar to go to the battlefield. He has seen Hazrat Qasim to go to the battlefield. He has seen the sons of Sayyidah Zainab, Aun and Muhammad to go to the battlefield. He has seen his own brothers to go in front of him to the battlefield and become shaheed. He constantly sees all of the inhuman acts of the side of Umar Sa'ad towards the household of Imam al-Hussein and the rest of the family and the women and the children. He comes up to Abu Abdullah Hussein and he asks one last question. Hal bi min rukhsah? O Imam al-Hussein, do I have permission? Do I have permission? The Ma'tal says, فَبَاكَ al-Hussein. The minute Hazrat Abbas asks for permission, Imam al-Hussein starts to cry. He says, أَنْتَ صَاحِبُ لِوَائِي. Oh Abbas, you are my flag bearer. You're the one that everybody looks up to. As long as your flag is up, there is hope within the hearts of everybody within our side. As long as they see your flag being raised on our side, all of these women and children feel that safe. As long as that flag is up, no one even worries about the enemy attacking towards the khiyam and the tents and the khaymagah. Oh Abbas, if you go, my army will vanish. Hazrat Abbas responds, he says, Al-an zahra sadri. Oh Abu Abdullah, my chest cannot take this anymore. It has reached the level in which Hazrat Abbas cannot take all of the pains of the acts of hypocrisy and injustice towards the Imam Hussein and his family and kids. He says, my chest cannot bear all of this pain anymore. I have given up on the dunya. Let me go and show these hypocrites how everything is done. Imam Hussein, as he's about to say something, the sound of these little kids can be heard. As if they are watching behind the tents, and they see Imam al-Hussein and Hazrat Abbas talking. So the minute they see Hazrat Abbas talking to Abu Abdullah, perhaps they're saying, okay, maybe they're doing a discussion about what is needed. Maybe we can help them. So how do they help them? They start reciting and chanting, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. We are thirsty, we are thirsty. We're asking for some water. Imam al-Hussein hears the sounds of the children. It says, my Abbas, if you want to go to the battlefield, go and grab some water for them first, then you have my permission to go. Here's when it becomes the musibah. Hazrat Abbas comes back towards the khaymah, comes back towards the tents. There was one specific tent in which they would hang up the mash, they would hang up these water bags as they would bring it from the Furat. So all of those water bags and water saddles were inside of this tent. He goes inside. What does he see? You see that the dried water bags are hanged on the side of the tent. But from before, as there was some moisture, as they would have brought the water bags, the sand underneath this water bags is a little bit moist. What does he see? He sees these little kids in the heat of Karbala, in the thirst after 3 days. They have uplifted their shirts and they have placed their belly and stomach on the moist sand of Karbala, so that the coolness of the moist of the sand will give him a little bit less pain of the thirst of the heat of Karbala. He's the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He gets very angry. He takes on the water bath. He holds onto his spear on his horse towards the Furat. Anybody's able to block him? Absolutely not. He breaks through what they say close to 3,000 archers. How many soldiers? Allahu A'lam. He gets to the Furat. He enters the Furat and he's looking at the water of the Furat. As the Maqtal says, he lowers himself. He picks up the water of the Furat. He brings it up all the way to front of his face, but not to drink it. He's Abbas. He has that ma'rifah of the Imam. فَذَكَرَ عَطْشَانَ الْحُسْنِ. He's looking at the water. He reminds of himself of the thirst of Abu Abdullah. He starts talking to the water of the Furat. Oh Furat, shame on you. Oh Furat, shame on you. Oh Furat, shame on you. You are running like this at this vast, at this mass right here. The animals, the birds, all of this wahush are actually benefiting from you. Oh Furat, the grandson of Nabi Rasulullah, couple of yards away from you, has been kept thirsty for 3 consecutive days. How dare you to run like this at this mass, at this position? Oh Furat, how would you be able to answer Allah on the day of Qiyamah that you've been running on this side freely, but the only remaining grandson of Nabi Rasulullah has been kept away from drinking from you. He doesn't drink the water. What a champion will be able to do if he drinks some water and quench his thirst. How many more people he will be able to kill? He pours the water back to the Furat. He fills up the water sack. Now it's one objective. What is that one objective? Imam al-Hussein has asked me to take the water back to the kids. The kids have lined up because they have seen the flag of Hazrat Abbas going towards the Furat. They have seen him picking up the water back. All of them are hanged up. One of the reports says Sayyidah Sakina had lined up all of these little kids, and each one were holding on like a cup or a bowl. They were all waiting to see the flag of Hazrat Abbas to come back from the side of the Sharia, from the side of the Furat, and they were looking and looking and looking. So Hazrat Abbas on his horse fills up the water bag, and he's heading back towards the Zainabiya. He's heading back towards the tent. Everything that's happening in his mind is what? To make sure I will get this water back to the Khayr. So he's protecting the water sack with everything that he has. And he's speeding up and he's speeding up as fast as he can. But Umar Asad gives the order. He says if that water gets back to the Zainabiya, the war is going to continue on and on and on. Make sure you do whatever you can to stop and block Hazrat Abbas from taking that water to all of these women and children. So they start attacking him through the palm trees, through all of the ambushes, left, right, front, back, doesn't matter which way. You take 3,000 archers, you aim for 1 point. What's going to be remain of him? They start attacking Hazrat Abbas from every direction. One says they start releasing arrows, one says they start approaching him. One guy comes from the ambush. He strikes on the right hand of Hazrat Abbas. Severes the right hand from the shoulder. Hazrat Abbas quickly grabs the water sack before he falls down with his hand with his left. He's constantly looking towards the Zainabiya. Perhaps he's seeing the face of Bibi Sukaina. He's seeing the face of Bibi Ruqayya. He's seeing the faces of all of these little kids waiting and asking for a piece of water. And he's running towards the Zainabiya. Another one comes from the left side, striking on the left hand of Hazrat Abbas, severing it from the shoulder. Hazrat Abbas holds onto the water sack using his teeth and trying to go over yourself and cover the water sack with his body. That's when the order of releasing of arrows is heard. Now imagine 3,000 arrows towards one person, 1 point on top of the horse, no hands in the body to protect himself. How would he protect the water sack that is holding up with tears on his chest. So he leans himself towards the horse. He tries to cover the water sack with his body. The terminology of a hedgehog, it applies here. All of the arrows goes through. And Hazrat Abbas using his body to block off the arrows. But all of a sudden, that one arrow that goes through the body of Hazrat Abbas hits the water sack. It's not the pain of losing or getting all of those arrows in on the body. It's the sound of the drops of water falling down from that water sack to the plains of Karbala. As Hazrat Abbas starts to slow down, another one comes from the behind using a metal club on the head of Hazrat Abbas. He falls down from the horse. As they say, the musibah is this: when you fall down from the height, how would you break up the height? How would you break up the fall when you have no hands in the body? Hazrat Abbas hitting the grounds of Karbala with no hands in the body is filled with arrows. As he heads down, one report says he shouts one line: Assalamu alayka ya akha, adrikni ya akha. Oh my Zainabiya, oh my brother, come to my assistance. I don't know how Imam Hussein got to the body of Hazrat Abbas, but they say when he got to him, he waited for a second. He's just looking. What is he looking? He's looking at the height of Hazrat Abbas. He's looking at the body of Hazrat Abbas as if he's puzzled. What else can be done to the body of a champion? He sits next to Hazrat Abbas. They say he someone starts to remove the blood and the dust from the face of Hazrat Abbas. Now one of the eye has gone blind. With the other eye, perhaps he barely opens his eye. He looks at Imam Hussein. He says, "Oh, Abu Abdullah, I'll ask you for one thing." "What is it, my brother?" "Oh, Abu Abdullah, leave my body here." "Why?" "I do not want to see the faces of the kids and the children who are waiting for the glass of water, with the portion for the sip of water. I do not want to disappoint him." Imam al-Hussein says, "Al-an inkasarat lahri," as if my back is broken. وَقَلَّتْ حِيلَتِي, I have no more options. As Imam is about to return, all of these kids are lining up. They're looking towards the flag. They're not seeing the flag of Hazrat Abbas. As they're looking and they're looking, what do they see? They see Imam al-Hussein is walking back. He's not on his horse. He's holding onto his horse, and he's constantly wiping out the tears from his eyes. He gets closer and closer to the place of the khaymas. Nabi Sukaina, all of these little kids, they come around above the love. "Oh Imam Hussein, oh father, where is our uncle Abbas? Where is our Amu Abbas? We don't want any more water. We promise we will never ask for any more water. Just bring our Abbas back to us." Imam Hussein keeps on wiping his tears. He goes to the khayma of Hazrat Abbas. He removes the pole from the khayma. The tent collapses as a sign that this tent has no more owner anymore. Abbas is gone. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى أولاد والسلام على المرسلين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم إنا نسألك ونعوذ باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم الله بحق محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين والحزة العباس استجب دعواتنا يا الله يا الله يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والناس واجعل الله من أعوانه وأخص شيعته. والله lastly on the right of Al-Fatihah, on the right of Imam Hussein, on the right of Muharram, the day of Ashura. Oh Allah, hasten the appearance of our Imam of time and grant all of us the bounty of being part of his companions. Oh Allah, will ask you for forgiveness upon all of us, upon all of our marhumin and marhumat and beloved deceased ones. Oh Allah, will ask you to provide shifa and cure for all of the mu'min and mu'minat around the world. Oh Allah, will ask you to grant all of us the life of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad and the death of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, granting all of us the bounty of going for their ziyarah and benefiting from their shafa'ah. Oh Allah, will ask you to accept this majalis on your mercy and grace and grant all of us the title of the mourners of Abu Abdullah. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات.